Welcome to John Michael's Rockbox podcast. And man, you know what? How exciting today. It's always exciting, but today in particular, because I have as a guest today, Obba Babatunde, who when I got the invitation to talk to Obba, I was out and I expressed this to Obba just a little while ago. I know the name. I know the name. And for crying out loud, I can't put a face to the name. Or sometimes it's the other way around. I know that face and I can't put a name to the face. And it's usually the way it is with most people that I know. Now you can see Oba on the screen. Now you know his name. And you're like, yeah, I know this guy. And this guy, Oba, not only is an actor, which I'm sure you've seen him a lot, he's also a singer, he's a dancer, he's a director, a writer, and might even add, a producer. Now, mind you, Oba, uh, 4 decades in the business, and I forgot honestly that you were a dancer, uh, and what a dancer you are. Now, you're a great actor, man. No, don't get me wrong, but I forget, because you don't have a tendency to when you kind of put somebody in a category like just acting, but you can act and dance. But you're a dancer.
Yeah,
Where do
baby.
you learn all those smooth moves? Is it? Huh?
Oh man, I'm so thrilled, man. Thank you so much for having me join, man, the Rock Box. I'm really, just pleasure to spend some time with you this afternoon, man. And thank you so much for the invitation.
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, when Tracy, who is your publicist and the girl that I've known for quite a long time, sent me the invitation to do this interview, and that's when I said, I know the name, blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah.
So, and I said, yeah. And then when I put it all together, I was like, heck yeah. A couple of other choice words, but we'll just keep it at heck yeah. And so, my goodness, man, 4 decades in the business of you doing so many different things. Uh, and do you have anything in particular that's more fun than the other, or is they all kind of hand in hand?
That's a great question, man. Deserves a great answer. I'll do my best. You know, People don't realize this, but I started out in the business like you, man. I was a musician.
Oh,
My first professional job was at 14 years of age. I was a trumpet player.
yeah.
Well, I'll say a wannabe jazz trumpet player.
Right.
And and how my life changed and getting into, that still don't give on that mouthpiece, you know what I mean? But
Uh,
also, like, what happened was I used to hear, like, on the weekends, my next door neighbor's dad would play jazz, would come through the walls, man. So one day he said to me, he said, "Hey boy, I hear you over there practicing." He said, "You playing trumpet, huh?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, who's your favorite trumpet player?" And I liked high notes at the time, right? And so I
yeah.
said, "Oh man, Maynard Ferguson." He said, "I thought you said you was a jazz player. Boy, you don't know about no jazz." He said, "This weekend, the Jazz Mobile is coming through the neighborhood." Now, for those of you that are listening and watching that don't know what the Jazz Mobile was, it was this great thing, and it changed my life, actually. It was a flatbed truck, and they affixed the drums and the piano to the truck, and the cats would come through and they'd pull up the flatbed truck and they would do a 20-minute set, and then they move on to the next part of the neighborhood, right? And so I go down, man, and I'm standing there, and who comes out on piano? McCoy Tyner.
Oh,
On bass, Ron Carter. On drums, Elvin Jones.
whoa.
Right. And on vibes, Milt Jackson. I heard jazz and I said, wow. And so I went home, man, when they finished that set. I got my bike, and everywhere they went, man, I rode my bike, man, and just followed them, right? Okay. So now I keep trying, but I'm cool, but I ain't good enough to play straight ahead.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I also sang, and I was a martial artist, And so you asked earlier about where I got the dance from. Well, I was a martial artist before I knew that I was a dancer, but that's what gave me the dexterity to be able to move the way I did. And so I started getting involved in theater. You talk about the amount of time I've been doing this in the game. I in my last year of high school, I started writing poetry, and then my first year of college, I started transforming those poems into one act plays. And I
Ooh.
would direct them and hire people that was other students and stuff to do these plays because the poetry at the time was about what was going on in the world or particularly in my neighborhood or neighborhoods like mine. And so I would take and create these little one act plays. But I also sang, but I didn't let people know I could sing because they used to tease me because my singing voice was very much like the cats from the 40s. So I listened to all of that music so that, and my musical mentor, entertainment mentor was Sammy Davis Jr. So I then started doing everything and learning everything that he did because that's what I saw. I saw this cat that looked kind of like me who
Yeah.
did everything with the best that was considered to be the best in the business. So that's how I got into it. So to jump fast forward, um, in New York, 52nd Street was the place, right, where
Yeah.
all of the, where all of the great musicians would play. So now I end up uh, doing this play while I'm in college, Three Penny Opera. It was a place called, it was on 52nd Street. It was called the Red Carpet. And from 8 to 11, it was a theater. Then 11:30, it switched over and become a jazz club. So
Oh,
this one night, like, like I remember I told you it was 14 when I first got tuned into these guys. I said
right.
to the cast, I said, hey man, I had to get some jazz upstairs. I'm gonna go check it out. I'm sitting there, bro, and who comes out? McCoy Tyner, Elvin Jones, and Ron Carter. My childhood flashed before me, man. And I'm going, whoa, these are the guys. And so it just from that point forward, man, it just continued to evolve. And I got involved, continued in theater, you know, um, musical theater became, we're back.
Yeah. Sorry, the glitch. It was I don't know what it was. We had this technology and we were
Yeah,
discussing and there it is. That was part of the technology. So I'll have well maybe get the editor to kind of fix that. But anyway, as you were saying, and sorry for the rude interruption.
but no, so that was sort of how the career evolved, you know, and it's continued, you know, and what I did was, I continued to find a way to incorporate all of those things into everything that I did, the music, the dance, the singing, the acting, you know, it's all incorporated in everything that I do in one way or another. So I sing through my acting, I act through my dancing, and I dance through all of the above.
Oh, wow. Wow, God, I love that. That is great. And do you still pick up the trumpet?
Man, quietly for my own entertainment. It's sort of like, I listen to these cats play, man, now, and I'm going, wow, man, I'm glad But here's another thing, which was interesting. Most trumpet players, if you
Right.
think about this, they all talk like this
Ah,
because that would have, I think, had I stayed with that, I wouldn't have this singing voice that I
right.
have or the speaking voice because it's something about you think about Miles, you think about Winton, you think about Louis Armstrong. I mean, they all Chet
Sure.
Baker. They all their voices all ended up being like this, and I think it
Right.
was from the trumpet.
You would have to exert a lot of air pressure, right? Because it's diaphragm, right?
Yes, diaphragm, but it's the way you create the embouchure, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you blow through. It's not the throat is not open,
Oh,
you know. So when you sing, you know, it's the throat
oh,
is open
right.
so that it's a connection. But I mean, but that gave many of them guests. I mean, you take Chet Baker, for example, man, you know, when he would sing, it was a sound that was unique, you know
True.
what I mean, to the way it is. But I just think it was best that I let that steel be to those cats that wanted to do that.
Yeah, and you kind of just keep with the singing because I wish I could sing. I can't save my life, but that's all right. I've learned that well, I can you know sing in front of people who will tolerate it, and including myself in a car. And sometimes I bug myself and I stop,
Right,
you
right.
know, and then I just listen to the music.
Yeah,
So
man.
and leave the
Well,
singing to you
well,
guys.
I mean, um, I got into, you know, I was a percussionist.
Ooh,
Yeah, I got into doing that as well. I actually, well, I became a cat that was a folkloric West African folklore um, aficionado. So I learned to play djembe, junjun, samba,
ooh,
all these
all those
all these
things.
hand drums. And then, I started picking up the sticks and doing some paradiddles, right? Ram
Oh,
flamadiddles,
yeah, those are tough.
you know. And so, and then, but when I got to play, I did the musical Sammy, and I played Sammy Davis Jr. And in that show, I wanted to do everything that Mr. D did, and so, you know, straight ahead, and then I told him, I said, look, when it comes to that section, they flew in a drum set right down, and in one point in the show, and
Oh.
I sit down and I said, I don't want the orchestra to play during this because I don't want the audience to think that it's coming from the orchestra. I want them to know
Oh.
I'm really doing this. So that's what I did, man.
That was a good call. That was smart thinking. That's smart thinking, Babaloo. You remember that cartoon?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Quick draw McGraw. No, that
Quick
that
draw
was
McGraw.
that was a brilliant idea, because it comes in line with people that think that some of these artists are lip syncing, and it'd be no different than you know for example, when you used to watch some of these musicians on TV back in, oh, I don't know, it was a while ago.
Yeah.
But they weren't plugged in, and you
Right.
knew they weren't playing. But
Right.
so they're playing to the record or what the soundtrack, you know.
Right.
And so that's so well done. Good job. Smart
Thank you,
thinking.
brother. Thank you.
So musician and it's Sammy Davis Jr. And we're gonna get into why Oba is here, why we're actually talking, besides the fact that this is fun and I'm kind of glad that you accepted this interview. But where was I going? So you did say, oh, Sammy Davis Jr. brought it. Did you meet
Yeah.
him?
Yes. 1978. I was doing a world tour with co-starring with Liza Minnelli.
Oh,
And we either proceeded, he was doing his world tour, so we either proceeded or followed one another into the different venues around the world. And so we became very close. I'll give you that story if you got a second.
yeah.
Um, we he it was we were closing at Lake Tahoe in Harris,
Right.
Lake Tahoe, and he was opening the next night, right? And so he stopped by and he was in the dressing room with Liza, and she says she knew I was a huge fan, and so she said, "Oh, well, Sammy wants to meet you." And I said, "Well, can he meet me after he seen me work?" And then she said, "Well, he's not going to stay for the show." So I came in. He was getting something out of the cooler,
Oh,
and he turned around and he says, "Hey, man, I understand that you're marvelous, Liza says you're sensational, and I'll get a chance to see you. I'm not going to stay for the show this evening. My gums are bothering me. So I said, well, Mr. Davis, he says, call me Sam. Oh, I could never call him Sam. So I called him Mr. D. And so he says, our audience is our first priority. So I'm going to rest. My gums are bothering me and I'm going to rest tonight. So I said, okay. Well, as it turns out, I come off the stage to make a costume change, and Helen which was Liza's dresser, says, Liza said to tell you Sammy stayed. Great. Okay, wonderful. So at the end of the show, there's a knock on my door,
Right.
right? And I say, yes, hey, oh, it's Sam, man. I open the door, and there he stands, and he says this to me. He looks at me, he goes, you, my man, are a bitch on wheels, a bitch on wheels. Marvelous. He came in, he paid me a lot of nice compliments, right?
Yeah.
I said to him, I said, Mr. D, I want to thank you, sir, for coming in through the kitchen so that I could come in through the front door.
Oh,
Tear in his eye welled up, ran down his face. He gave me a big hug. And from that moment on, we became very close.
nice.
Right up until his passing in
Right.
1990. And
Yeah.
as we talk about him, this year, had he still been on the planet, he would have been 100 years old
No
in
kidding.
December. He was born 1925,
Wow.
and December 8th, 1925, and he would have been 100 years old, man. So I
Ah,
try to keep that legacy alive, because
yeah.
he was amazing, an amazing cat, man. Just played everything. I didn't know. Did you know he played piano as well?
I did not. Or
I
did
didn't
I?
either.
No, I
I just
didn't.
found that out. I knew he played the vibes,
Right.
right? Knew he played drums,
Yeah, I've
knew he
seen that.
played a little trumpet and trombone because I'd seen it. But I didn't know there's a video out there now of him going from the drums to the vibes to piano.
Oh, wait a minute. That's right.
You
I
saw
think
that?
I think I saw that somewhere, maybe, and it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it came across a feed, or it was one of those
yeah.
other videos sitting there on the side, and
Right, right.
had to
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at it.
yeah.
Yeah, one of
I didn't,
those.
I didn't, I didn't, I just found that out. I thought I knew everything. So, yeah, but that's how, we became very close, you know, he would take me to events, I remember
Yeah,
there was a thing called the Apollo 25, and it was anybody that was still around that had performed at the Apollo Theater for the first 25 years. They
yeah.
did a whole week where every one of them that was still around came back. So
Whoa.
he took me with him, and he gave me his name tag, which I still have, and he goes, put this on, man. Nobody will bother you. And I put the thing on, right? And I mean, I was there in Billy Eckstein, Sarah Vaughan,
Whoa.
James Brown. I mean, you just name it, man. They all came through. Moms Mabley was like a comedian. That was the first person. My dad took me to the Apollo Theater when I was a little kid, and I was sitting up so high, I was afraid I was going to fall off onto the stage, you know. But and I couldn't tell where the Moms Mabley. She's talking. Yeah, something I tell all of my friends. Uh, last week they gave me a ticket for jaywalking. And I told the cop, jaywalking? I walk like this all the time. I didn't know whether it was a man or a woman from where I was sitting. Yeah, man.
Oh man, how cool. That's yeah, like for instance, I'm 65. So I was able to witness a lot of things that where a lot of these artists are no longer with us.
Yes.
Uh, But it was in their middle to towards the end of their careers,
Yeah.
Uh, but I would now a lot of times it was not live, but it's recorded and it was still fresh. So it was being played on TV
Yeah,
and
man.
then of course VCRs because DVDs weren't around yet.
Right, right,
And
right.
you
And,
know,
and,
and
and so and some of us are still trying to figure out how to turn the flashing light off the VCR.
I know, seriously. Oh, and you think, man, VCR and now DVD, when DVD came out, I thought, man, this is the greatest thing ever. And now everything's downloadable. So, and or streaming. And
Yeah,
so
streaming. Yeah.
and so I have become a fan of all those kinds of movies that were older, that
Yeah.
had the Rat Pack, uh,
Right.
stuff with Fred Astaire and
Oh,
and those kind of movies and Cary Grant
oh.
and John Wayne and older stuff.
Yeah,
And
man.
and I was a big fan, and I still am. If I can find stuff like that, then I am always there. And you got to witness and actually meet some of those kinds of people.
Yeah, man. I really did. Met Jerry Lewis. You know, because Sammy had which a lot of people don't realize, because everybody would see him on Jerry's Kids, which was
Right.
the muscular dystrophy deal.
Yeah.
But Sammy had his own telethon, and it was called Sammy's Kids,
Oh,
and he shot it and filmed it in St. Louis. And all the money, and I mean every dime, went to purchasing prosthetic arms, legs, or whatever for children who did not have limbs, you know.
oh,
And so I would go and I would do that telethon for him every year.
wow.
Yeah.
That is fabulous. And, just the fact that, plus you got to meet him. And I'm sure eventually he goes back, I know Oba.
Oh yeah.
He's my friend.
Oh yeah. 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 He was very, very kind, very, very kind, and he even made a statement in public on. It's funny that you would say that in one of the telethons. He goes, "My next guest, I'm I'm sort of like an uncle to him," he says, and I'm thrilled for that, because I know that if I should ever get out of this business, that it will be held in the hands of a guy like this, like an Obba Babatunde, like a Gregory Hines, like a Clint
Yeah.
Holmes. He named three of us, that he felt could carry, and carry on with that legacy of that kind of entertaining, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, did you ever think about doing a dance off with Gregory Hines? He's a good dancer too. I mean,
Oh, he was an amazing friend too. A great guy. Another cat gone too soon, but
yeah,
Gregory was just he was such an artist, man, and a gentleman, a kind man, and
oh,
and
I
his
love that.
brother Maurice Hines.
Oh,
You know, remember there was, before it was Gregory, it was Hines, and Dad. It was
oh,
Maurice. It was Maurice, Gregory, because Maurice was the older brother.
right,
Maurice,
right.
Gregory, and the father. They had Hines, and Dad. The dad was a drummer, and
Oh,
yeah, yeah, man. So I got to know all of them. Maurice Hines and I did a production of a musical, Guys and Dolls, together.
oh man.
Unbelievable, man, what that cast was. Wow.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
My gosh. Holy cow. What a fun career you have had. As I kept scrolling, I was looking at earlier some of the other films that you made. For all you Star Wars fans, of course, you were in on those. When that Star Wars movie first came out back in the 70s, I was there. When I first went, I went again and again and again, and I couldn't stop. I was a fan.
No.
And so that's cool. You're part of that. Bec-
Yeah.
And so I saw that. And then I remember seeing you uh, when we were talking about recognizing faces. And I remember that you were in that movie, The Wonders,
Oh, yes, 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 yes. That thing you do.
that thing you do. There we go. And I thought that was a fabulous movie. You got to meet Liv Tyler.
Yes, yes, that sure did. That's right. She was great too, man. and what was cool about that was Tom Hanks' directorial debut. And
Oh,
we knew each other because I did Philadelphia.
right, right.
Yes. So I was the attorney. Mary Steenburgen and I were the attorneys against Tom and Denzel. You know what I mean? And so after I had done that with him, uh, he came and he said, "Hey, literally, Tom Hanks called me up and said, listen, man, I come in and I want to talk to you." I go in. He says, "Listen, I got this. I'm directing this movie. You know, it's about this group. Da da da. But there's a character in it, and he reminds me of somebody from my childhood." He says, "And I think you would bring life to him." And that's how I ended up playing that character.
You did a great job.
Yeah,
You
it
did.
was a lot of fun, man. I didn't you and Liv, like you said, Liv Tyler, man. She and I had scenes together, and it was just so cool. Just
Yeah.
so cool.
That was awesome, man. You know, how much fun is it to be in that sort of business where you're doing something that you love to do anyway, and then you
Yeah,
get
man.
to meet other fabulous people that hopefully, at least I think for the most part, love what they're doing as well.
Yeah,
You
yeah. No,
know,
you're 100% correct. You know, and I've made so many friends and family over the years, you know, from that because people don't realize that when you're in a show or you're working on a movie, you're with those people a lot longer than sometimes while you're on that project than you're with your family, and they become a family member, and
right?
those relationships, you know what I mean, they last a lifetime. And so I've had a lot of those wonderful memories. You know, um, I mentioned earlier Liza Minnelli, and I still talk to her all the time. You know,
Wow,
yeah, what
wow.
an amazing human being. And
I like
you know,
her.
yeah,
I
she's a
do.
powerful lady.
Oh man, I agree. I absolutely agree. And so, yeah, it's on and on average. Before I go into what what we're pushing today, because
Yeah,
we're pushing something. Uh,
SWAT.
yeah, SWAT. How on average does it take to be in a movie to do say just a standard role and start to finish ish.
You know, it's changed over the years.
Yeah.
It used to take a lot longer, and now with the technology that they have, you can set up things a lot faster. You can get things lit, and there's a lot of technology that goes into so many of these movies now, and the turnaround. I mean, before it would take, you could do a film and you wouldn't see that thing for a year and a half at least at earliest.
Right.
Man, stuff turns around rather quickly now, you know,
Uh,
um, because the post production goes a lot faster, you know. When I did the movie The Temptations, to give a perfect example, and I played Barry Gordy, um, we were doing what's called editing on the fly. So
whoa.
that means you're editing even while you're filming.
Oh.
Okay. So that movie, we finished it like on a Thursday, right? And it went to network and aired over that weekend.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was mind boggling how that thing turned out. Great,
Whoa.
great, great picture. Really a
Yeah.
wonderful movie and great music. And those guys, take my hat off and salute each and every one of them that played the temps. They sang. That was actually their voices.
Nice.
Yeah,
I
man.
like that. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It
So
reminds it reminds me not to butt you in or butt into you. Val Kilmer, who
yes,
recently passed away, did the Jim Morrison on the movie The Doors, and
yeah, the Doors.
he sang it.
Oh man. Val Kilmer was what a giant, man.
Oh.
Woo!
So hats off to you guys that actually do the part. You,
Yeah,
mister. So you were saying in the Temptations, everybody
yeah.
was
So
singing.
I was saying that's the original question was how long does it take? It depends. you know, marketing, how long is it set up to get it out there so that people are going to go see it and all those things. But in terms of the technological aspect of it, it's a lot faster than it did because remember, they used to shoot film. Now it's
Right.
digital,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So it's really really different, you know, and you know, comes out, you can come out pretty quick.
Yeah. It reminds me of the same thing as radio. When I started radio, it was okay, so it was still vinyl and 8-track cartridges.
There you
Um
go.
so CDs had not been invented yet. And somebody always had to be at the radio station 24/7. One of those
Right.
kinds of deals. And when we did phone calls, uh, because you can't always record them. You can't play them live on because people have love to have a tendency to want to curse, especially if they're excited and they don't mean to. You know, you're the 10th caller. You went, oh, F yeah. You know, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, gee. So you have to record it, right? So,
Right.
and it was reel to reel.
Real to real,
Yeah.
real to real.
And we had to cut and splice because you
Right.
had a lot of times you had just garbage tape. It just no, just a bunch of useless and you had to get to the point of the call. And
Yeah.
so because you only have so many seconds from the time you start speaking till as you play into an intro of a song before they start singing, you have to be
Right.
done, you know.
Right.
And so
Right.
it's like bye, 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 edit, 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 everything, a bunch of stuff on the floor, cut, splice, put together, and then you have like a 10-second little spot, maybe, you
Isn't
know.
that something, man? How things have changed.
Yeah, and no more. Everything's digital
That's
now.
what I'm saying. Yeah, it's all digital now.
So it's all crazy. Okay, so that leads us and Oba, and just in case you're just now joining, you should have been here earlier. Told you we were going to do this. You should have been here earlier. Okay, but you can always rewind and see from the beginning. Oba is got a great event coming up. He's doing, of course, Oba is Pops. You're Pops, right? The
That's
father of
right.
Hondo
That's right.
on the
Yes.
CBS SWAT.
SWAT. Yep. Yep. And we're at our 8 seasons. And, you know, it's really been a beautiful run, man. We were talking about earlier, you know, relationships that we make. And I play Shamar Moore's dad, which his character's name is Hondo on the series. And we've really become almost like surrogate dad and son, you
Wow.
know. And that's the beautiful thing about that is that John, that it shows up, I think, on the screen because it translates in a way with this complicated relationship between these two men, you
Right.
know, and what they go through. My character was a former um, Black Panther.
Oh,
And so here now my son grows up to be on a SWAT, the head of SWAT. So sometimes there were some conflicts in ideologies, you
right.
know. Also, my character had left the family early on for a different relationship. So we got a chance to delve into that. But you know, it's really interesting because at sometimes I'm obviously parental, other times he's parental to me. And now we've got on the show, you know, a grandbaby, and it's really it's his child, and so there's a whole lot of things. It's not just the thing I love about the show is it's not just all about police work, and you know we salute those officers and those men and women that do that job,
Right.
but they're also human beings. They're also human beings. They're also people that have a life outside of their occupation. And
Right.
that's what the show was able to do with bringing my character in, with showing what his life was like off the job. And that's so wonderful, you know what I mean? He's a
Yeah.
great talented you know guy, and you know and we get along well, and it's magical when we get a chance to work together.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I like the fact that you guys show the fact that police officers they're human too,
Yeah,
and
man.
people on the other side of the law will forget that, and
Right,
look at them like they're I don't know nothing something other than human, but they're not.
right.
They got husbands and wives and kids and parents
Yes,
and lives outside, and yeah, they like to go to parties and they want to go see a movie,
right.
or blah blah blah, but and I don't know why people just have a tendency to see them as something other than a human being.
Yeah, well, they tend to see, and it's more now, I think, in the world that we live in, that people identify your who by your do,
Yeah, yeah,
and I have a saying that says your do is not necessarily your who. Your do is what affects change in your life, but your who is how you affect change in someone else's life.
yeah, absolutely.
And you know, um, at the end of the day, you know, not only do they have lives outside, but just like everybody else, there's challenges. We all have challenges,
Mhm.
you know, and then you still got to get up and put that uniform on and go into the world and deal with some unpleasant situations or some scary situations, you know, and life or death situations in some cases.
uh,
When you're dealing with your own life or death situation, perhaps, you may have lost a sibling or you may have lost a parent, and then you got to put on a uniform, you got to go and you got to deal with somebody else's child. People don't really understand often until you've had a chance to spend time with these men and women. It's
right.
like same thing with those in the military.
Yes.
We forget these are people that are putting their life on the line for our well-being and safety. So I'm thrilled that I've been able to be on the show for all the seasons and that I've been able to play Pops on there. And, people say, we love you, Pops, because you don't take no mess.
Ah,
Pop-
that's
Pops is
wonderful.
serious. Pops is serious, man.
Pops is serious, man. You don't mess with Pops. Because,
That's right.
and the wonderful thing about the things like SWAT and showing, besides the fact that people like to see those action kind of things,
Yeah.
is that you're bringing life to the uniform. I
Yes,
guess that's a human life that's living inside that uniform.
that's correct.
It's for instance, like a the movie The Chosen.
Hmm.
If you've seen that,
Yes. Yes.
it's wonderfully done. That actually makes Jesus a human being and
That's
more
right.
more relatable now.
Absolutely. Which
Your
is so
show
valuable.
your show does kind of the same thing, that it's not just a uniform of somebody that's carrying a gun that you better be careful, don't speed in front of me, blah blah blah. There you can see now that that's a human being that's inside that uniform,
That's right, man.
and that uniform comes off and it's still the same person, just one that doesn't have to be as careful, and cautious of things all the time, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And,
So
and 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 as well as the fact, I think you'll agree that, you know, you don't not all we don't all have all the answers.
no.
We don't all have all the answers. And so that you're in a situation and you're trying to figure out what it is. You know, there's a friend of mine who I met, and he's just written a book called uh, Badge Unbroken, Robert Hall, and he's in Tupelo, Mississippi, and he was a policeman and a chief of police, and so he wrote a book, and I'm going to do the audio book for him, and
Oh,
that's one of the things that I learned just being around him is that you walk into a situation and it can go this way or that way. You don't know, man,
oh,
what's going to happen. I did a movie years ago with Kathleen Turner and Dennis Quaid called Undercover Blues. It was a great movie, and I play a detective. And so I went and I wanted to live with. I wanted to know what the life of this guy was, who this character I was going to play. I wanted to know what the human side of this person. So I went and I lived with this guy's family for 3 weeks before, just to see what his home life was like, you know. And man, I had some experiences because I went on different details with these cats because I wanted to see what the energy really was like.
Right.
And man, it was the things I could see where something could go from a moment of intense to you're kidding me. I'll
Wow.
give you one quick example. So there was um the unit that did drug bust is not the same unit that they go out and they go out. They rely heavily on snitches from time to time.
Huh.
So I went out and you're in plain clothes and you're just hanging around and the guy walks by and he goes, uh, third house, third floor, third house on the left. And he keeps walking and everybody passes that back third house, third house, third on the left. And you're just talking, but that's information. Then you take that information back. And then the narc squad that's going to go in and do the bust, right? They get that information. So they go, Obba, you going to go? I go, yeah, man. So at that time, drug busters were done in the wee hours. So it was between 3 and 5 a.m. because you
Whoa.
have the least amount of pedestrian traffic, the least amount of,
Um,
unaware, you can roll up. And so, man, you roll up, it's quiet, and then bam, running up the steps. Now, go up. The deal is that in this project housing, when you went upstairs, the first landing, the apartments were like at the top of the landing, left and right. When you went up the next one, it was at the top of the landing, but you're going this way. So now we don't know third house, third floor, third house on the left. Is it from the front of the building or on the landing? Right? So
oh
they
man.
just rush, man. They hit this door. Bang, open the door, police. Break the door down. And they always said that the second man in is the most experienced because if anybody's going to get it, it's going to be that person because boom, you're hitting the door and that person's going. So I'm way behind. I'm ducked down behind Michael. I ain't trying to be crazy, but I will never forget the energy, and the moon was shining through the window. And I
Right.
see a woman and she's naked and she screams as they hit the door and she's running. Then you see a guy dive to the floor. They roll on this top of this cat. Don't you move. No, 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 we're going to blow your brains out. They on top of it. And
Ah.
then, they're screaming, hollering, and the woman is screaming. And one of the officers said, John? He go, hey, man. The guy on the floor goes, hey, man, she ain't had to do all of this. We're in the wrong house.
Oh no.
This is his brother-in-law who was tipping out on his wife with this woman.
Oh.
And it goes from, to, man, that's your brother. In a heartbeat, it changes.
Oh
But
wow.
now, then it changes back because now the word is out. And that's what they call a bus gone bad.
Yeah.
Now it's dangerous because if it's a number of people, and this was heroin that they were
Wow.
dealing with.
Ugh.
Anyway, they had a unit in the back, and he hollers, down here. We go down there, there's a guy, he's about 62. He jumped out the third floor window, right? They caught him downstairs. So we get down there, and the guy goes, so where you off to, Pop? He said, I'm going jogging. He said, you always jump out the window at 3:30 in the morning to go jogging? He says, I'm not lying to you, John. He says, I likes to get out early.
Oh, God. You-
They
I
went
get,
into, they went into the right apartment. They come down, they got the bricks, and they got his granddaughter.
ah,
And if there's a child involved, the stakes go up all around
right.
in terms of the sentencing. And he just looked at his granddaughter, put his hands behind his back, put the cuffs on him, and that's it. But I'm just giving you that as an example of how in that instant, pop, 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 pop. It's
Yeah.
no, 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 no. You know, I mean, whew, all
Everything.
the gig I wouldn't want to do.
All those emotions in geez, in that fast a time. That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's
yeah.
wild. Holy cow. And so
So
you get
hats off to these SWAT officers and
oh
those
yeah.
men and women in uniform, man.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I believe in to this day, ever since I had a choice on what I thought I was my own, is that police officers, any buddy in the emergency services, be it if you're a paramedic or
Right.
firefighter or teachers for that matter,
Yes.
do not get paid enough.
Right. I agree.
So, and I don't understand how it is that they come up with a very minuscule wage. It should be a lot more. I mean,
No,
a lot more.
way a lot more. I
Yeah.
agree, brother.
Holy cow. So, yeah, that's going to be fabulous, Pops. Pops. Uh, a SWAT scheduled to premiere Friday, May 9th, 9 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time on CBS. And so then now people will look at you. Should I call him Oba or do I have to call him Pops? So who do be when you're walking around, do you get both Oba
Man,
or
I
Pops?
listen, I've played so many people. There are people that actually think because of the Temptations that I am Barry Gordy. You know, they're like, "Hey, Barry Gordy," and I'm like, "No, I played him in the movie. I was in Toronto uh, some time ago doing the movie John Q.
Yeah.
And the guy, I'm walking down the street, I'm coming from a restaurant, and the guy goes, "Oh my God, it's Barry Gordy. Listen, man, I have a disc, I have a tape, you have to hear it." I said, "No, no, man, I played him in the movie." He said, "No, I know you're trying to be incognito, man. Let me run and get my tape." The dude goes to his car, man. I just kept walking. He comes back and he goes, "Mr. Gordy, please listen to it." I'm like, "I'll check it out." You know, so I played so many different characters that people, I did a crazy movie called How High with Red Man and Method Man. And I played the dean of students, a very uptight guy, until they give me these lace brownies, and then I become somebody else, right? And they're like, people walk by and they go, "Oh my God, it's Dean Kane. What's up?" So I've been everybody, man, over the years. It's a
Oh,
long career, brother, and still going.
that is fabulous. Golly, that's very I think it's awesome. I mean, just to be able to portray so many different characters. And speaking of which, how is it to and because people like me who don't act uh to jump into a character. So okay, we'll use Pop since we're pushing this right now on SWAT. And they say, okay, this is you're going to be so and so's father, and you were this. Do you do a bunch of research and then do you find a different kind of voice? Is
Well, you know what? That's another great question, man. First of all, I only play or portray fully realized human beings.
right?
Okay. Now, somebody says, "Well, okay, what do you mean by that?" All right. Now, if I'm a bus driver, when I get off the bus and my shift is over, am I still just a bus driver? No, I'm a human being.
Right.
I'm a human being doing a job, or a human being that you're catching me in a particular place in life. You know, um, the movie Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. I
Mm.
play, I narrate the movie as a man who's 87 years old, right?
Right.
And then I also, in the flashbacks, they show me as the younger person.
Oh.
So what I did was I got into, it would take me 8 hours to get into age makeup when I did that particular character.
Wow.
And so that character, his the man, the way his voice is that he gets older and he speaks a certain kind of way. And He doesn't move as fast.
Right.
He might have a cough. He smokes a cigarette, and that his fingers might tremble a little bit, but he's still a human being. See? Now, also, depending on where he's born and where he comes from, he might have a particular accent. See? If he's from the South, you have a Southern accent depending on where in the South you come from. See?
Mhm.
So that's the thing now with that character. That this was the voice that I chose when I spoke. That explains everything I explained to you. See? Now, then, if I'm doing like I did earlier when I was doing this character that, like, I did this Broadway show where I played a Rastaman. So from Jamaica. So
Oh,
I've a change up my voice completely. So if you meet me at this time, you say, this is over. I say, hey, nice to meet you, John. Man, I hear you have a podcast. Man, I'd love to come on sometime and do it if you have me. You see? So
yeah.
if you met me like this, you think this is the way I speak. You say, man, that guy's Jamaican, right? Well, I also speak sign language.
Oh,
So there's a time when if you saw me signing, people will say, wait, I didn't know that guy was deaf. No, I did a movie called Mother, where I was the only hearing person on set.
oh,
You
wow.
know, so each one of those people are a fully realized human being doing what they do within the realm of where their life is, right?
Yeah.
So if that's the beauty of the craft of acting, which I
Yeah.
believe it is a craft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just like a musician practices more than they actually gig, I do the same thing. I'm working on that craft more than I'm actually acting in a production because most actors are unemployed more than they're employed.
Uh,
So you got a lot more time to practice if you want
yeah.
to get better at your craft, you
Yeah.
know? But I came into the game with an understanding that I'm not playing Oba. I leave Oba in the trailer or in the dressing room, and I become who I am at that time. But I'm still connected to the human element of that which I am as a human being.
Uh,
The difference, people say, well, what's the difference? Do you like film, television, or theater most? Well, when I was doing theater, I always said theater because it's live and it lives and dies in the hearts of that audience that's there.
all
Then I
right.
started doing then I started doing television. And I was like, I realized I could reach a much broader and wider audience in one visualization of that thing. Then I did film. Film is forever. So I have a healthy respect for each, but there's also the craft of each, right?
Right.
So
Right.
the camera, what many people don't realize is I teach a master class from time to time. This is what I teach, that the camera sees more of what you feel than what you do.
Oh,
So I can go without saying a word and communicate a thought.
got it.
Where if I'm in theater, it's the same thing, but I've got to be able to project it in a way. So, like if I do this on camera, it's too much.
Oh,
But in theater, if I do that, you won't see it.
true.
I just do that. So you learn the craft, but each one should be born of the honesty of the moment.
Hmm. Wow.
So that I tell people, I said, listen, in film and television particularly, the story is told in between the lines, not with the line. So that if
Yeah.
I say something and you say something to me and I look at you and I'm listening, I do that. I just said something without having said a word. I just
That's
lifted my eyebrow. Hmm. So
true.
let me ask you a question, if I may. You know,
Yeah.
so all of those things,
Yeah.
what is it that you're intending to communicate? It's listening, listening.
Yeah.
Okay. Acting is reacting. It's interacting. It's not playing something on top of the lines. That's bad acting. That's poor acting. That's make believe. No. If I say, you know, I really, I really do care. I gotta mean it because you'll feel it. Because
Right.
why? As human beings, we're kinetic.
Mm.
We feel, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So that's how I get into my characters. I do the research, but I also will do a backstory. Now, the backstory is as every human being, each of us have a backstory, meaning that we have a life. You have a full life before I got an opportunity to meet you today and talk to you on camera. All
Right.
right. So you're talking to me, and all of your life, and when you speak, is fueled by everything that you've been through. So I will write, did that person, was he, just to give example, say, well, did this person, was he ridiculed ever in his life? Is he secure or insecure? Is he a happy guy or is he really a frightened guy that somebody's going to discover? Is he portraying a guy that is all confident, but I'm really scared to death, that I'm really scared to death that somebody's going to find out that I am so afraid right now? And so how do I hide that fear? Is it hidden under the verbose way I speak? Or is it, hey, look, man, I'll be honest with you. I don't know the answer I don't know the answer to that question. And I hope, and if that guy, maybe it's never written or shows up in the script that that guy in school was bullied. But if I put that in the background now, whether that ever shows up in the script or not, it will inform everything that I do.
Ah, all right. I get it. I see what it is. I see what you're saying.
So
Holy
that
cow.
way it's a fully realized human being
Right.
because we all have things like that. We all have triggers.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
what's this guy's trigger that I'm portraying? You know what I mean? If he's in a scene where you know the woman that he used to be with cheated on him and he got and he's injured by that.
Right.
Now there's a scene where you know I come in and you know I see that she's written an envelope and I go, um, who are you sending this to? And she goes, oh, I'm sending it to my cousin. I didn't know you had a cousin. How was your cousin? Now, there's a dozen ways you can do that. If this guy is insecure about who she's sending that to, cousin, well, wait a minute, wait a minute. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your cousin? Because I didn't know you had this cousin. Then you're still writing your cousin? Or if that guy's not insecure about that, cousin who? Did I meet him?
Right.
I can give you the exact same lines, but the intention that's underneath it, the underbelly, tells more story than the lines actually tell.
Oh, wow. You just put a whole big different perspective on that whole thing. That is awesome, man. So it is a craft. You opened up a different area of the way I vision acting,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I kind of sort of knew that, kind of sort of, but you really, and I think for maybe most people, we don't know unless somebody
Right.
shows it and or describes it to us, and then you see it, and then when you start watching things, you see it a little bit different, and then
Yeah.
you can actually see the character is more than just a cardboard cutout. You
Yeah,
know,
man.
it becomes
Right.
life.
Perfectly described. Perfectly described.
Wow, wow, that's great. Holy cow. Now I can't wait to go see you, son. I'm gonna have to go and just put something up and just watch it. I'll go watch SWAT. And
Yeah,
so
there's a bunch of stuff out there. I think Tracy also sent you. There's a thing on demoreel.com,
right.
and so people can go to that and check it out. And I've put little brief movies of different things I've been in, but like 2 3 minute little clips that I put together. And there's a highlight reel, and there's a thing that shows you the stuff that I've done through the years.
In fact, let me share this. Sorry, I'm backed away from the. And so, can you see that?
Yeah.
There it is. There he is. It's demoreel.com slash Obba. And then from there, it should just pop up. But look at it. See, look at that face, huh? That's the face you got. You could love that face right there. Of course, here's the reels that you were talking about. And I watched quite a few of these already. And I was like, wow,
Oh,
wow.
cool, man. Yeah.
So, because I like to see what's going on. And it's like, all right, I got to stop. I gotta go do something. Because
Yeah,
look at
there's
it.
that life. That's the old man. You see that guy, life?
Oh
That's
yeah.
me as an 87-year-old guy at a gravesite.
Oh, look at that. That is
And you know
awesome.
what? And you know what's so funny was that the guy that's in one of the guys that was in the scene with me, he didn't know I was in an age makeup. He thought I was really this old guy, right? Because I was totally in character.
Right.
And afterwards, he found out. He goes, "Hey, man, I had no idea that was you." He says, "I want to come and study with you, man, because I'm working with you, and I thought you was that old man."
It's pretty good. I like
Yep.
that. You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the one I hadn't quite got to yet because
Oh yeah.
I
You'll
just
you'll
went
enjoy
over.
that. You'll enjoy that. You'll enjoy that.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna love that one. Okay, and then of course, and mind you, there's show more. You could see Oba's biography, which
Yep. I won that Emmy.
yes, sir. Look at you. How exciting was that?
That was a very, very wonderful experience. That was for the soap opera Bold and the Beautiful,
Oh, nice.
and was thrilled to be honored with that.
The bold and the beautiful. I remember my mom used to love daytime soaps.
Yeah.
Oh my. I mean, love date. She had so much that I remember there was a while there that I started to love daytime soaps. I was like, look at me. What am I doing? I'm watching daytime soaps. What the heck happened? And
Oh man, listen, I know there was some guys on professional football teams that would tell me, "Man, we schedule our practices around your show."
yeah. I mean, because you fall into these kinds of shows, and SWAT is no different.
Yes.
It's just not during the day. Well, it depends where you are because it
Yes,
could
that's
be,
right.
you
Must
know.
watch TV.
Yeah, must watch TV, and so the SWAT could be one of your daytime soaps, and so yeah, you got to go check this out. That reel is just fabulous, and so you could check that out. And uh, what else was I looking at? Oh yes, here's your SWAT. Of course, this is the one from themirror.com, and you can read about Oba and this and a little bit more on CBS's SWAT, which is very interesting. Now, you can also, and I was a big fan, somebody turned me on to Tubi many years ago,
Yeah.
and I was all, Tubi? Where? How come I've never known about Tubi? And, but you find some good stuff on Tubi. So,
Yes, man. And this movie, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, with this cast, it is really a good movie. I recommend that people go and check it out. Really, really strong.
I
I
think
love
it's a good idea. Look at that. And you can like it, add to your playlist, get a
it. There
little
you
bit
go.
about it. Holy cow. And it's in English. Yeah. Look at
And also, if you go to Tubi and you type my name in, I've got a lot of different properties on Tubi. I have a show a television show that I created called Go Beyond the Lens.
Oh,
And it's a television interview show, Go Beyond the Lens with Obba Babatunde. Yeah, you see, I got a bunch of stuff. I got that show. There's my horse talk show because I'm a real cowboy and I
oh.
train horses and horse whispering techniques. And you see that one. There's how high, yeah. and
Yeah.
then, and then that show with the horse talk that has Morgan Freeman on there. You see him in the shot there. You
Right.
know, but those if you just go and you click on things that I've done, there's the Temptations, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But that one there, Go Beyond the Lens with
Oh,
Obba Babatunde. It's a really, really wonderful show. And I do 3 interviews with 3 different gentlemen. And we learn not only about the greatness of their careers, but also the greatness of who they are. As I said, your do is not necessarily your who. When we get a chance to talk to, and
right.
two of those gentlemen have transitioned, Richard Roundtree and Tiny Lister. And
Ooh.
so you get a chance to see some of the stuff. So yeah, I got a bunch of stuff up there,
Yeah,
you
look
know.
at that. It's a big list, man. It's a big
Yeah, yep,
list.
yep. Long
Oh,
time.
holy cow.
Yeah, you can see me a lot around.
Oh, well, which is I think is fabulous because so the wrong place, wrong time. Again, you could see that we just saw that up on Tubi. And what else was she pushing on you for? Oh, the film sci-fi thriller Run.
Yeah, that's going to be coming in movie theaters. So look out for that soon. Within the next few months, Run. It's really a good film. Really a good film.
So is sci-fi fun for
Yes, sir.
you? Do you like
Hmm?
doing sci-fi?
I enjoy it. I enjoy it. You know what I mean? If it's done well. And
Right.
this movie is really done well.
Because, we have in our heads what we think space is like and things, you know, space related robots, because we're just kind of like tasting the beginning of all that stuff.
Yes.
And time travel and, getting through the galaxy in record time, so somebody's figured out how to jump through space because you can only go so fast, and even going so fast it's still going to take you forever to get to Mars.
Yeah, you're
So,
right. You're right. You're right.
and so in your head you have to kind of think, well, from what I've heard from other people, getting through the space-time continuum. I think that was what's that?
well, well, this what's interesting about this one is all I'll tell you is that my character, I play the president within a time where the universe is being invaded by these creatures. And I'll just leave it at that and just say
Right.
you let you check that out.
Okay. Sorry, my camera turned off on me for some reason. All right. I'm looking forward to that. So, okay. Oba Babatunde. Run, coming to theaters. All right. And you can see that coming up soon. Wrong place, wrong time. That will as we saw up on Tubi, which I recommend going to Tubi and type in Oba and just things will
You'll see a
pop up.
bunch of stuff. Yeah.
And start from the beginning. Just work your way from the left to the right, unless you like reading from the right to the left. Then it's up to you. Go ahead. And then, of course, we're looking forward to the uh, your character as Pops on
Yes.
CBS's SWAT, again scheduled to premiere Friday, May 9th, 9 p.m. Eastern Pacific. And that will, my friends, will be on CBS. So, did we forget anything?
No, brother. I think we've covered about everything. We'd have to be on here four and a half decades if we continued.
Oh, you know what? So here's the cool thing. Just because we did this one doesn't mean we're done. We can always come back and do, you know what? We can come back and talk about how Run did.
Yes.
And
Thank
then
you.
maybe
I
you
would
have
love that. I would
something,
love that.
you might even have something else pop up besides, you
I'm
know?
telling you, you can't tell because you know I kind of stay busy.
Yes, you do. My goodness. And I thought, I saw your bio and I was just like, this guy, where does he find that? I mean, 4 decades, you think that's a long time. But when you do as many different things as you have, because, you don't just all of a sudden become a singer, all of a sudden become a dancer, all of a sudden become an
Right,
actor, you
right.
know, and so you kind of incorporate, and that's wonderful that you've incorporated all your talents into your acting too.
Yeah, well, I've been very blessed and I'm thrilled and I'm going to continue to do the very best I can to make sure that I provide the best of the talents that I've been blessed with.
Well, you're a man that loves your craft.
I do.
So, and you can tell when somebody loves their job,
Yeah, man.
and for all of you who are working at a job that you're at the wall. You've hit that wall. Look for a new job
Yeah,
because you can't
man.
you can't go through life. Granted, I've done it, and that's the only reason I can say it. I had kept the job because it brought the money in that I needed to do, but I was unhappy. And when you're not happy
Mm-mm.
when on Monday you had to go to work, but Sunday you're depressed. And I mean from the soon as you became coherent and you knew it was Sunday and tomorrow was Monday and you had to go to work and you become depressed. Find a new job.
You're 100% correct. I agree with you, brother.
Gotta look, man. Look.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe
Well,
you'll be
thank
a
you so much.
maybe be an actor. You could be like Oba.
Yeah,
Oba, I would love to try acting one day, except I can't remember stuff. And they say, dude, all you had to do was say these 3 lines and then step from here to there. Yeah, I couldn't remember that. Yeah, find somebody else. I'll narrate
oh,
from the back.
hey,
So, dude, all right, we're gonna set something up. We're getting back together. We're
thank
gonna
you, brother.
we're gonna definitely set something up so that we can see how all these things turned out and see what's new on your
All right.
list of to-dos. Huh?
Well, thank you so much, man. I enjoyed myself. Thank you. I hope you had a good time. I hope your audience has a great time, and I look forward to coming back and spending some more time with you.
Ah, we want to say thank you, award-winning actor Obba Babatunde, and don't forget CBS to watch SWAT beginning Friday, May 9th, 9 p.m. Eastern Pacific time. All right, Oba, thank
All
you.
right, my brother.
All right,
We'll see you again soon here.
yes, we will be chatting soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Oba.
All right. Ciao, bro.
Ciao.